The silence is the first thing you notice. It is not an absence of sound. The overgrown city of Eldoria is never truly quiet. You can hear the rustle of ivy over crumbling colonnades, the drip of water in cisterns deep beneath the earth, the distant cry of a Carrion-Hawk circling the broken spire of the heavens. No, this is a different kind of silence, a deeper, more profound emptiness. It is a stillness in the very fabric of the world, a lack of resonance where for millennia there has been a chorus. You stand on the precipice of the Guardian's Roost, a balcony carved from the living rock of the city's highest mesa. Your palm rests against the cool, lichen-kissed granite of the balustrade. Beneath your skin, through your very bones, you feel the thrum of ancient power, faint but persistent, a song only you can hear. It is the lifeblood of this place, the residual magic soaked into the stone from ages of divine presence. But today, the song is thin, a reedy whisper where once it was an orchestra. The gods have fallen silent. For 3 days, it has been this way. At first, you thought it was a celestial alignment, a momentary occlusion. But the silence has persisted, deepened. Down in the lower terraces, in the sunken city where the short-lived races make their homes, you have seen the confusion curdle into fear. The priests of the Sky Father stand before their altars, their voices raw from unanswered prayers. The oracle of the deep well has gone mad from the sudden void in her mind. Faith, the mortar that held the world together, is cracking. Your goal, your entire existence, is to maintain the balance, to act as the fulcrum between the untamed magic of the old world and the burgeoning, chaotic world of mortals. This silence is the most profound imbalance you have ever known. It is a weight dropped on one side of the scales, and you can feel the entire world beginning to tip into an unknown abyss. Your fingers trace the sigils carved into the stone, wards of binding and sight. They feel cold today, inert. Your oaths, the ancient strictures that define your being, are a cage of words around your soul. You shall watch, but not command. You shall guide, but not force. You shall preserve the loom, but not reweave its threads. They give you power, longevity, a perception that pierces the veil between worlds, but they also chain you. You cannot simply intervene. You cannot march down to the temples and declare the gods gone. You can only watch the consequences unfold and act when the imbalance threatens to shatter everything. And you know where the first, most dangerous consequence is taking root. You pull your hand from the stone and turn, your long coat of woven moss and shadow swirling around your ankles. You move without sound, a phantom on the windswept heights, descending the winding stone stairs that spiral down the mesa. The air grows thick and humid as you descend, rich with the smell of damp earth, blooming moon-petals, and something else, the sharp, metallic tang of ozone and heated copper. The scent of ambition, the scent of echo. Her workshop is nestled in the roots of a petrified ironwood tree, a colossal relic from the dawn of time. Its hollowed-out base forms a natural dome, reinforced with bronze struts and crystalline panels that glow with captured light. This is where you bring her the things she needs, the rare components you can procure from places mortals dare not tread. A shard of a fallen star, the heartwood of a whispering elm, river stones that have never seen the sun. You are her supplier, her connection to the deep magic she seeks to distill and command. And you love her. That is the truth you hold closest, the one secret ember of the mortal you once were. As you approach, the hum of her machinery grows louder, a rhythmic, energetic counterpoint to the city's creeping despair. She is trying to build a new song to replace the one that has vanished. You push aside the heavy, beaded curtain that serves as her door. The interior of the workshop is a chaotic symphony of creation. Blueprints and schematics are pinned to the curved wooden walls, covered in her elegant, frantic script. Coils of copper wire snake across the floor, connecting arcane accumulators to delicate glass vacuum tubes. The air crackles with energy. And there, in the center of it all, is Echo Storm. Her back is to you. She's hunched over a workbench, her brow furrowed in concentration. Her dark hair is a tangled mess, escaping its leather tie. A smudge of grease streaks her cheekbone. She wears practical leather trousers and a heavy artisan's apron over a linen shirt, its sleeves rolled up to her elbows, revealing forearms corded with muscle and stained with chemical reagents. She is meticulously adjusting a tiny, multifaceted crystal suspended in a cage of interlocking silver rings. The crystal pulses with a soft, golden light, a miniature, captive dawn. This is her life's work, her magnum opus, the thing she believes will save them all. The sunstone of Eldoria. The alignment is off by 1,000th of a degree, she murmurs to herself, not having heard you enter. The resonance cascade will be unstable. It needs more focus, more intent. You watch her for a long moment, the guardian in you warring with the man you used to be. The guardian sees an unprecedented threat to the balance. A mortal hand reaching for the power of a god, attempting to create a sun in a world meant for moonlight. But the man sees only her passion, her fierce, brilliant desperation to mend a broken world. You see the woman who looks at the encroaching darkness and instead of cursing it, resolves to build a bigger light. You clear your throat softly. She jumps, spinning around, a soldering iron held defensively in her hand. Her dark eyes, usually so bright with intelligence and humor, are wide and shadowed with exhaustion. When she sees you, the tension drains from her shoulders, replaced by a weary but genuine smile that makes your ancient heart ache. Don't do that, she chides, her voice raspy. You move like a ghost. One of these days I'm going to impale you on a voltaic condenser. You offer a small smile in return, stepping further into the light. It would be an interesting way to test the limits of my vows. You hold up a heavy leather pouch. It clinks with the sound of polished stones. Obsidian from the heart of the sleeping mountain, cooled in darkness for 1,000 years. It should help contain the energy bleed off. Her eyes light up, the fatigue momentarily forgotten. She rushes over, wiping her hands on her apron before taking the pouch from you. She pours the contents onto her workbench. They are not mere stones, they are impossibilities, fragments of pure, unreflective black, so dark they seem to drink the light from the room. Perfect, she breathes, her fingertips hovering over them. Absolutely perfect. This changes everything. The containment field will be 10 times more stable. She looks up at you, her gratitude shining in her face. Thank you. Echo, you begin, your voice lower, more serious than you intended. The silence in the heavens, it's getting worse. The priests are losing their minds. The faithful are becoming violent. People are afraid. I know, she says, her gaze returning to the pulsing crystal at the center of her device. That's why this is so important. If the gods won't answer, we'll build a new voice. If they've taken their light, we'll make our own. Her certainty is a beautiful, terrifying thing. You are meddling with powers that brought the first world to ruin, you warn gently. The words of your oaths, a bitter taste on your tongue. Creation is not a thing to be mastered in a workshop. It is a force to be balanced. Balance, she scoffs, a spark of anger in her eyes. She gestures around her at the city beyond the workshop. Look at this world. The gods are gone. Chaos is seeping in from the edges. Where is the balance in that? Your precious balance is just a pretty word for slow decay. I'm offering a future. Before you can respond, a new sound cuts through the hum of the workshop. It is the crunch of a heavy boot on the gravel outside. A presence, heavy and grounded, settles at the threshold. A shadow falls across the beaded curtain. You instinctively move to stand between Echo and the entrance, your posture shifting from that of a concerned lover to the guardian you are. Your senses extend, tasting the air, the intent of the newcomer. He feels of old iron, earth, and regret. The curtain is pushed aside, and a man steps into the workshop. He is tall and broad-shouldered, built like a bulwark against the tide. He wears worn, practical armor of dark, unadorned steel over boiled leather. A heavy, single-edged sword is strapped to his back. His face is craggy, framed by a short, iron-gray beard, and his eyes are the color of a winter sky. He looks like a man who has seen too many battles and expects to see many more. He is not looking at you. His entire focus is on the softly glowing sunstone. So the rumors are true, he says, his voice a low rumble like stones grinding together. A mortal trying to forge a new divinity. Echo steps out from behind you, her chin lifted in defiance. Who are you? This is my laboratory. The man's gaze shifts to her, and for a moment, it softens with something that looks almost like pity. My name is Atlas Chrome, and I am here to ask you, child, to stop, to dismantle this thing before it unmakes us all. You feel a ripple of energy from him, not of malice, but of immense, contained power. He is ancient like you, but different. Where your power is of the veil, of whispers and shadows, his is of the earth itself, solid and unyielding. I will not, Echo says, her voice ringing with conviction. This is our salvation. It is our damnation, Atlas counters, his tone hardening. He takes a step forward. You do not understand what you are building. You think you are bottling light, but you are creating a hunger, a void that will consume everything. Get out, Echo spits, her hand moving towards a lever on her console. I cannot do that, Atlas says, his voice now laden with sorrow. I have a duty to protect this world from itself. And there it is, the core of the conflict, laid bare. You and he are mirrors, two guardians with opposing views of what protection means. You are bound to preserve mortal will, even when it is self-destructive. He, it seems, is bound to a different creed to protect mortals from their own hubris. He takes another step. You move to intercept him. She told you to leave, you say, your voice cold and quiet. Atlas finally looks at you, truly sees you. A flicker of recognition, or perhaps understanding, crosses his face. Ah, the Watcher. I should have known you would be here, hovering at the edge of things. Will you stand aside? This does not concern you. My quarrel is with the device, not the woman. Anything that concerns her concerns me, you state, the words an oath of their own. He sighs, a heavy, weary sound. So be it. I did not want this. I just want to be left alone, to see the world fade quietly. But you people, you with your grand plans and your desperate hopes, you never let the world rest. His hand doesn't move for his sword. Instead, he plants his feet, and the very air around him seems to thicken, to grow heavy. The floorboards of the workshop groan. A pressure builds in the room, a physical weight that presses down on your shoulders. It is a raw, elemental power, the strength of mountains and the patience of stone. You meet it with your own. You do not draw on the earth, you draw on the spaces in between. The air shimmers around you. The shadows in the corners of the workshop deepen, stretching towards you like welcoming arms. The hum of Echo's machinery falters as the two of you face each other, two ancient and opposing forces brought to a standoff in a fragile shell of wood and glass. This is your final warning, Watcher, Atlas rumbles, his knuckles white where he clenches his fists. Step away from the forge of this false god. And this is yours, Stoneman, you reply, your voice a whisper that cuts through the oppressive silence. Leave this place. The balance here is not for you to define. The sunstone on Echo's workbench pulses, its golden light flaring brightly, as if responding to the titanic clash of wills. It casts long, dancing shadows on the walls, a silent audience to the fight that is about to begin. A desperate fight, born not of malice or greed, but of two different, unshakable forms of love for a world that has lost its way. The first blow is not one of steel, but of pure will. Atlas roars, and the very foundations of the ironwood tree shake. The floor beneath you cracks, stone groaning in protest as veins of raw, earthen energy surge towards you. You do not meet them head on. That is his way, the way of brute force and immovable objects. Your way is to yield, to redirect. You dissolve into shadow an instant before the shockwave hits, the very essence of your being becoming one with the darkness you command. The stone floor erupts where you were standing, splinters of petrified wood and chunks of granite flying through the air. You coalesce behind him, silent as the grave, your hand outstretched. The shadows in the workshop obey you, solidifying into grasping tendrils that lash out, seeking to bind his limbs. Atlas is too experienced for such a simple trap. He doesn't turn. He stomps his foot hard, a shimmering shield of geological force, like heat haze off rock, radiates from his body, and your shadow tendrils evaporate against it with a hiss. He is a fortress, every defense perfectly in place. Tricks and whispers, he grunts, finally turning to face you. His eyes burn with cold resolve. The way of your kind. You guard the veil, Watcher. This is a matter of the mundane. You have no jurisdiction here. Her creation threatens to tear the veil, you counter, your voice coming from all the shadows in the room at once. That makes it my jurisdiction. Behind you, Echo is frantically working at her console, her face pale but determined. She is trying to do something, to use the Sunstone's energy. It's a dangerous, desperate gamble. Echo, no, you shout, your concentration breaking for a fraction of a second. It's all the opening Atlas needs. He lunges, faster than a man of his bulk has any right to be. He is not aiming for you, but for the workbench, for the Sunstone. He knows that is the heart of the matter. You manifest between him and the device, no longer a creature of shadow, but solid flesh and bone. Your hand catches his wrist, and the impact is like two planets colliding. A shockwave of force blasts outward, sending tools and papers scattering across the room. His strength is colossal, inhuman. The bones in your arms scream in protest. You can feel the raw, physical power of the earth trying to grind you into dust. You are strong, he admits, his face inches from yours, his jaw clenched. But you are a phantom. You have no anchor, no true weight in this world. He pushes, and you are forced back, your boots skidding across the fractured floor. You are losing. His power is too direct, too absolute. But you have one advantage. He wants to destroy the Sunstone. You only need to protect it. Echo, now, you yell, pouring every ounce of your will into holding him back. A high-pitched whine fills the room, rising in frequency until it's a physical pain in your ears. The silver rings around the Sunstone begin to spin, faster and faster, blurring into a solid band of light. The golden glow within the crystal intensifies, from the warmth of a candle to the blinding rage of a star. Foolish child, Atlas bellows, seeing what is happening. He shoves you aside with a final, desperate burst of strength. You stumble, crashing into a rack of glass beakers that shatter around you. He raises a gauntleted fist, intending to bring it down and shatter the device. But he is too late. With a deafening crack, a beam of pure, golden energy lances out from the Sunstone. It isn't aimed at Atlas. It's aimed at the ceiling, at the ancient, petrified heart of the ironwood tree. The beam strikes the wood, and for a moment, nothing happens. Then, the point of impact begins to glow cherry red. Cracks spread outwards, not just in the wood, but in the air itself. A tear, a shimmering, jagged wound in the fabric of reality. the balance you have sworn to protect shatters. From the tear, something begins to pour through. It is not a creature of flesh, but a being of pure, conceptual chaos. It looks like spilled ink, a formless, multi-limbed blot of darkness that seethes and writhes, absorbing the light around it. The comforting hum of the workshop is replaced by a dissonant shrieking that grates on the soul. Atlas stares at the creature, his face a mask of horror and grim vindication. "You see," he snarls, not at you, but at Echo. "This is what you have wrought. An open door for the hungering void." The creature's amorphous body lashes out with a pseudopod of solidified nothingness. It strikes the far wall, and the reinforced wood and bronze simply cease to exist, dissolving into fine gray dust. Echo lets out a small, terrified gasp, her hands flying to her mouth. Her ambition had not accounted for this. Her dream of a new sun has birthed a monster from the endless night. Your mind races. The creature is anchored here by the tear. The tear was created by the sunstone's uncontrolled energy burst. Close the tear, and the creature might be banished. Atlas has already come to a similar conclusion, but his methods are far more direct. He rips the greatsword from his back. The blade is as unadorned as his armor, a slab of sharpened steel that seems to absorb the light. He charges the creature, his boots shaking the ground, a warrior's cry ripping from his throat. You move as well, but your target is the tear itself. Your oaths forbid you from unmaking what mortals have wrought, and the sunstone is the pinnacle of mortal creation. But the tear, the creature, they are aberrations, intrusions. They are a violation of the balance. They are your responsibility. Atlas's blade meets the creature's formless hide. There's a clang of metal on something impossibly hard, and he is thrown back, skidding across the floor. The creature is unfazed, its attention now fixed on him. You reach the space beneath the tear, looking up into the shimmering, unstable rift. You can feel the wrongness of it, the cold, alien energies of the space beyond the veil bleeding into your world. To close, it will require an immense act of will, a weaving of energies that you have not attempted in centuries. You must pull the edges of reality back together and stitch them shut. As you begin to gather your power, drawing on the ambient shadows and the latent magic in the city's stones, a choice presents itself, stark and terrible. There are two ways to do this. The slow, careful way, following the ancient laws of weaving, ensuring no thread is broken, no pattern disturbed. This is the way of the oaths. It is safe. It is precise. It will take time. The other way is faster. A brutal, direct severing. You could pour your raw power into the rift, not as a needle and thread, but as a cauterizing brand. It would slam the door shut instantly. But to do so, you would have to draw upon unhallowed power, a direct violation of the third oath. You shall not wield the raw chaos, for its touch is corruption. It is a shortcut, a dangerous and forbidden one. You look over at Atlas. He is back on his feet, his shield now in his hand, facing down the abomination. The creature is larger now, having drawn more of its essence through the tear. It looms over him, its multiple shadow limbs poised to strike. He is buying you time, but he cannot last forever. Echo is huddled by her console, her face ashen, chanting a desperate litany of commands at the sunstone, trying to regain control. The litany of bindings scrolls through your mind, a cage of light and shadow. Clause 7, subsection 4, to interfere, is to unmake the slow path is the true path, preservation above all. You choose to obey. You are a guardian. The oaths are your identity, the very bedrock of your existence. You begin the slow, intricate process of weaving, your hands moving in the air, tracing complex patterns of light and shadow. The edges of the tier begin to tremble, slowly, painstakingly, drawing closer. But slowly is not fast enough. With a shriek that shatters the remaining glass in the workshop, the chaos creature lunges at Atlas. He catches the blow on his shield, the impact throwing him to one knee. Another limb strikes from the side, and you hear the sickening crack of metal and bone. His armguard crumples, and he cries out in pain. The shield falls from his grasp. He is disarmed, injured, and vulnerable. The creature rears back for a final, killing blow, and you are still weaving, still following the rules. The tier is only halfway closed. In that single, horrifying moment of clarity, you see the catastrophic failure of your choice. Your rigid adherence to ancient law, your devotion to a concept of balance that has no meaning to a monster from the void, has doomed the only other person in this room capable of fighting it. It has allowed evil, raw, unthinking chaos to gain a definitive, fatal foothold. The creature strikes. But instead of hitting Atlas, its limb slams into the workbench. Echo, in a final act of desperate bravery, had shoved it, putting herself between Atlas and the monster. The blow that would have killed him instead smashes into the console and the sunstone's containment field. The device shrieks, a sound of dying machinery. The golden light within the crystal flickers violently. Echo is thrown across the room by the force of the impact, her body hitting the far wall with a sickening thud before slumping to the ground, motionless. Echo, your voice is a raw tear in the silence. The careful, intricate weave of your power shatters. The half-closed tier in reality snaps open again, wider than before. The sight of her still form, the potential of her loss, breaks something inside you, something far older and more fundamental than any oath. The world goes red at the edges. The cautious, patient guardian vanishes, consumed by the terrified, raging mortal you once were. You abandon the tier. You turn to the chaos creature, and for the first time in 1,000 years, you break your vows. You reach out, not to the shadows or the whispers, but to the raw, forbidden power that bleeds from the rift. You call to the unhallowed chaos, and it answers. The third oath screams in your soul, a fire of pure agony, but you ignore it. Power, black and viscous, floods your veins. It is a torrent of pure, unadulterated force, and it feels like you are being torn apart and remade all at once. Your form shimmers, the shadows clinging to you no longer tools, but a part of your very being. You look at the monster, and it seems to recoil, to recognize a kindred, but more terrifying power. You don't give it a chance to react. You unleash the chaos, a wave of pure uncreation that surges from you. It is not a spell or a weave. It is a primal scream of negation. The chaos creature is struck by the wave, and for a moment, the two voids meet, a vortex of black on black. But your will, fueled by love and terror, is stronger. The creature dissolves, not banished, but utterly erased from existence. It is gone. The forbidden power recedes, leaving you shaking, gasping for breath. The silence that returns is heavy, broken only by the crackle of damaged wiring and the low, pained groan from Atlas, who is struggling to get to his feet, clutching his broken arm. But you don't see him. You only see Echo. You rush to her side, falling to your knees. Her pulse is faint, a butterfly's wing against your fingertips. A dark stain is spreading across her tunic, and her breathing is shallow. No, you whisper, the word a prayer to gods who are no longer listening. Atlas stumbles over, his face pale with pain and shock. He looks from Echo's broken form to you, then to the still open tear in the ceiling. He saw what you did. He saw you wield the power of the void. His expression is not one of condemnation, but of dawning, horrified understanding. The sunstone, its core is fractured, he rasps, his gaze fixed on the now dark device. It's unstable. When it finally breaks, it will not just close the tear. It will take half the city with it. Your world narrows to a single point of unbearable pressure. Your adherence to the oaths allowed Echo to be struck down. Your breaking of the oaths has left you drained, and the primary threat, the unstable sunstone, still active. You failed as a guardian and failed as a man. You have lost on every front, and the safety of the one you love, her very life, is now tied to the countdown of a magical bomb of her own creation. The stakes have just escalated from saving the world to a desperate, frantic race to save your own. You look down at her pale face, and you know, with a chilling certainty, that you would let the entire city burn to see her open her eyes again. The balance can go to hell. You carefully gather Echo into your arms. Her body is limp, a fragile weight that feels impossibly heavy. The rich, coppery smell of her blood fills your senses, a scent that short-circuits 1,000 years of detached observation and plugs you directly into the raw, primal terror of mortal love. Where can we take her? Atlas grunts, pushing himself upright against the wall. His face is slick with sweat, his arm hanging at an unnatural angle. The city's healers. Their prayers are useless now. Their poultices and stitches are not, you reply, your voice tight with restrained panic. The sanctum of the quiet hand. It is beneath the grand orrery. They are surgeons, not clerics. You start moving, your steps sure and swift despite the precious burden you carry. The workshop, a place of vibrant creation only moments ago, is now a tomb of broken dreams, choked with the smell of ozone and the void. The tear in reality still shimmers overhead, a silent, mocking testament to your failure. The tear, Atlas says, his voice strained. We cannot just leave it. It will wait, you snarl, not looking back. The sunstone's detonation is the greater threat. How long? He closes his eyes for a moment, his brow furrowed. He seems to be sensing the stone, feeling its decay. An hour, maybe less. The harmonics are degrading exponentially. An hour. An hour to get Echo to safety, to see her wounds tended, and then to return here to face an arcane apocalypse. The path ahead is a razor's edge. You burst out of the workshop into the humid twilight of Eldoria's lower canopy. The news of the disturbance has not yet spread. The city continues its uneasy existence, unaware of the wound in reality bleeding into its heart. You move through the winding paths and moss-covered stairways, a shadow carrying a broken light. The sanctum of the quiet hand is not a temple, but a hospice, a place where science and botany have long taken the place of faith. The healers, robed in simple, undyed wool, take Echo from you without question, their faces grim but professional. They lay her on a bed of clean linen in a room that smells of antiseptic herbs and beeswax candles. One of them, an old woman with eyes that have seen too much death, examines the wound. The blow shattered 2 ribs. One has pierced her lung. She bleeds from within. We will do what we can, but she does not finish the sentence. She doesn't have to. You watch them work, your hands clenched into useless fists. You, who can walk between worlds and command the shadows, are utterly powerless here. You can only stand and wait as mortals use needles and thread to fight for a life you failed to protect. Atlas has followed you, leaning heavily against the doorframe, his own pain a secondary concern. You blame yourself, he states. It is not a question. You turn to face him, your eyes burning. My hesitation, my slavish devotion to rules that no longer apply, it put her in the path of that blow. No, he says, his voice surprisingly gentle. My attack put her there. My bull-headed certainty that destruction was the only answer. I saw a threat, and I charged. I never considered there might be a third way. He looks from you to the healers working on Echo. We are 2 sides of the same rusted coin, Watcher, both so convinced of our own righteousness that we left no room for the person caught between us. His words cut through your rage, leaving a hollow ache of truth in their wake. The misunderstanding was never his malice or your inaction. It was your shared inability to see beyond your own ancient duties. You saw a mortal creator to be protected. He saw a dangerous creation to be destroyed. Neither of you truly saw the woman at the center of it all. The old healer approaches you. We have stabilized her breathing and stopped the internal bleeding. For now, but the damage is severe. She is in a deep sleep. Whether she wakes, only time will tell. Time, a commodity you no longer have. You turn back to Atlas. We have to go back. We have to stop the sunstone. He nods grimly. It cannot be moved, and I doubt I am strong enough to simply shatter it, not in its current state. The feedback would level this entire district. Can it be disarmed, you ask? Perhaps, but only by the one who built it. He glances at Echo's still form, and I doubt she will be waking soon. He shifts his weight, wincing. There may be another way, a containment. My power is of the earth. I might be able to encase it. Form a shell of solid rock and granite around the workshop, deep enough to smother the blast. Might. It will take everything I have, he says, his honesty brutal. And I am injured. My focus is compromised. If I fail, we all die, you finish for him. You look at his broken arm, at the exhaustion etched on his face. He is offering to sacrifice himself to clean up a mess that you both created. The thought sits uneasily. You are the guardian. This is your failure to rectify. I will help you, you say. Your strength and my control. We will do it together. He looks at you, surprised. You would work with me. After all this, you said it yourself, you reply, your gaze drifting back to echo. We are two sides of the same coin. It's time we started facing the same direction. For her, everything is for her. The journey back to the workshop is a grim, silent race against a ticking clock. The air around the petrified ironwood is thick with a palpable tension. The ground itself seems to vibrate, a low thrum that travels up through the soles of your boots. The sunstone is reaching its breaking point. Inside, the scene is as you left it, a tableau of devastation. The golden light from the fractured crystal is no longer soft, but a manic, strobing pulse that casts jerking, distorted shadows. The whining sound is back, louder now, a keening shriek that promises imminent destruction. The tier overhead remains, a hungry violet maw. There is no time for subtlety, Atlas says, taking his position at the center of the room. We must act now. Lend me your will, Watcher. Help me focus the power. Guide it. He plants his feet, ignoring the agony in his arm. He closes his eyes, and the pressure you felt before returns, 100 times stronger. The floor begins to crack and heave. The very air turns to lead. He is drawing upon the deep power of the earth, calling up the geological strength of the planet's bedrock. It is a terrifying display of raw might. You stand opposite him, your own senses extended. You do not add your power to his. That would be like adding wind to an earthquake. Instead, you act as a focusing lens. You weave a matrix of shadow and will around the workshop, not to contain the blast, but to contain him. To channel his untamed, explosive power into a precise, constructive shape. You become the banks of his river, the walls of his forge. Now he roars. The floor of the workshop explodes upwards. But it is not a chaotic eruption. Guided by your will, pillars of black granite and living rock surge from the earth. They rise along the walls, weaving together, forming a dome of stone within the hollow of the tree. The sound is deafening, the shriek of the dying sunstone mixing with the groan of a world being reshaped. Sweat pours down your face. The strain is immense. You are wrestling with the power of a tectonic plate, forcing it to bend to your design. Atlas is a conduit for the planet's fury, his body trembling with the sheer force of it. Blood trickles from his nose and ears. The stone dome closes overhead, plunging the room into absolute darkness, save for the frantic, strobing light of the sunstone. The shrieking intensifies. It's about to blow. It's not enough. Atlas cries out, his voice strained to the breaking point. The shell won't hold. It needs more density. He's right. You can feel the stone dome vibrating, threatening to shatter from the inside out. You need to reinforce it, but how? You have no more power to give. All of your will is focused on shaping his. Then you see it, the solution. A terrible, perfect, and costly one. Your immortality, your very existence. You are not a creature of this world. You were once mortal, but you underwent a ritual, binding yourself to the veil, becoming a warden of the balance. The price of that ritual was your humanity. The benefit was a timeless existence, fueled by the ambient magic of the world. You are, in essence, a magical parasite, drawing sustenance from the very fabric you are sworn to protect. This divine silence, the departure of the gods, has weakened you because it has thinned your food source. The sunstone, in its attempt to become a new god, a new source of magic, is a concentrated feast. But if you were to reverse the flow, if you were to sever your connection to the veil and pour your own life force, a millennium of stolen magic, into the containment shell, it would be suicide. You would become mortal again, or you would simply cease to exist, your energy expended. You look at the throbbing, unstable heart of the workshop. You think of Echo, lying pale and still in the sanctum. You think of the city, of the millions of lives, oblivious to their imminent annihilation. Your oaths were to protect the balance. But what if the greatest imbalance has always been you? A timeless, unnatural warden, meddling in the affairs of a world that should have been allowed to grow on its own. The price of your immortality now threatens to destroy everything you swore to protect. The revelation is not a lightning strike, but a cold, quiet dawn of absolute certainty. This is your purpose, not to watch, but to act, not to guard, but to sacrifice. Atlas, you yell over the cacophony. Hold the shell. I'm going to reinforce it from the inside. Without waiting for a reply, you break your focus on him and stride towards the strobing, shrieking sunstone. The raw energy coming off it is a physical blow, trying to peel the flesh from your bones. You place your hands on the fractured crystal. You close your eyes. You reach deep inside yourself, past the oaths, past the centuries of solitude, past the power and the loneliness, and you find the tiny, flickering ember of the man you once were. And you let go. You sever the ties that bind you to the veil. The pain is unimaginable. It is the feeling of your soul being ripped in half. The power you have hoarded for 1,000 years surges out of you, not as shadow or whispers, but as pure, incandescent white light. It pours from your hands into the sunstone, and from the sunstone into the granite shell Atlas is struggling to maintain. The stone absorbs the energy. The black rock begins to glow, veins of white light spreading through it like a celestial circuit board. It is no longer just rock. It is rock infused with arcane permanence, with the very concept of guardianship. The vibrations cease. The structure becomes absolute, immutable. Inside the shell, the sunstone finally dies. With a final, silent flash of light that you see only in your mind, its energy is fully and safely absorbed into the containment dome. The shrieking stops. The strobing light is gone. Silence. A true, deep silence. The power is gone from you. You feel it leave, an exodus of warmth and strength, leaving behind a cold, hollow vessel. Your knees buckle. You fall to the floor, not as a guardian, but as a man. You are weak, aching, and overwhelmingly tired. The darkness that surrounds you is no longer your ally. It is simply the absence of light. You hear the scrape of stone on stone. A sliver of twilight appears as Atlas, with the last of his strength, creates a small opening in the dome. He stumbles through, falling to one knee, panting. He looks at the inert, glowing shell that now fills the workshop. Then he looks at you, slumped on the floor, and his eyes widen. He no longer sees a timeless rival. He sees a man. He sees the flush of blood in your cheeks, the faint tremor in your hands, the exhaustion in your eyes. "What did you do?" he whispers, his voice filled with awe. "I balanced the scales," you manage to say, your voice hoarse, unfamiliar. The journey back to the sanctum is a blur. Atlas, despite his own injuries, helps you, half carrying you through the now darkening streets. Every step sends a jolt of pain through your body. You are acutely aware of the scrape of your tunic against your skin, the cool night air on your face, the pounding of your own heart in your chest. Sensations you have not truly felt in centuries. You arrive at Echo's bedside. She is still unconscious, but her breathing is deeper, more regular. The healer gives you a hopeful nod. She is fighting. You collapse into a chair beside her bed, your energy completely spent. Atlas stands in the doorway for a long moment, his gaze shifting between you, Echo, and the sealed workshop in the distance. He understands the choice you made, the sacrifice. He sees the now stable sunstone not as a threat, but as a tomb and a monument. He walks over to you. You expect him to say something, to offer thanks or condolences. Instead, he does something utterly unexpected. He reaches out with his good hand and rests it on your shoulder, a gesture of simple human solidarity. A moment of kindness from a foe who is no longer a foe. "The world is quiet now," he says softly. "Perhaps it will find its own balance without us." He squeezes your shoulder once, then turns and leaves, his heavy footsteps receding into the night. He has his own path now, a new purpose. Perhaps he will become the guardian of the thing he once sought to destroy. You are left alone in the quiet room with the sound of Echo's breathing and the flickering candlelight. You reach out and take her hand. Her skin is warm, real. You feel the delicate bones beneath the skin, the faint, steady rhythm of her pulse. You are mortal. You will grow old. You will feel pain. You will die. You gave up everything to become a guardian, to achieve a timeless, dispassionate balance. And in the end, you gave up that timelessness to save one person, to embrace the chaotic, beautiful, painful imbalance of love. You watch the rise and fall of her chest, and for the first time in 1,000 years, you don't know what tomorrow will bring. The future is no longer a set pattern on a cosmic loom, but an unwritten page. And as you sit there, holding her hand, waiting for her to wake up, you feel a sensation you had long forgotten. Hope. Days turn into a week. You do not leave her side. You learn what it is to be tired, to be hungry, to feel the nagging ache of muscles held in one position for too long. The healers bring you food and water, their quiet acceptance a balm. They see not a fallen immortal, but a devoted man. Atlas visits once. His arm is in a sling, his face healing. He brings you a loaf of bread and a flask of fresh water. He tells you he has been to the ironwood. The stone shell holds, humming with a quiet, stable energy. It has become a new feature of the city, a place of strange pilgrimage, a mystery. He says he will watch over it. He does not call you Watcher anymore. He uses the name you had almost forgotten, the one you whispered to yourself in the final moments of your sacrifice. On the 8th day, Echo's eyelids flutter. You are holding her hand, dozing in the chair, and the slight movement brings you instantly awake. Her eyes open, slowly, blearily. They are clouded with confusion as they scan the unfamiliar ceiling. Then they find you. "You're here," she whispers, her voice a dry rasp. Tears well in your eyes, hot and sharp. Another sensation you thought you'd lost forever. "I'm here," you say, your voice thick. "I'm not going anywhere." She tries to sit up, wincing as pain lances through her side. You gently push her back down. "Easy. You were hurt." Her memory returns in a flood. Her eyes widen with fear. The sunstone, the creature Atlas. "It's over," you say softly. "Everyone is safe. The tear is gone." She looks at you, truly looks at you, and her brow furrows. She sees the changes, the lines of fatigue around your eyes, the lack of otherworldly stillness in your posture, the simple, profound humanity that now clings to you like a shroud. "What happened?" she asks, her voice laced with a dawning dread. You feel different. You take a deep breath, the air filling your very mortal lungs. "I poured my power, my immortality, into containing the blast. I severed my connection to the veil. I am what I was before." The enormity of your words settles in the small room. Her expression shifts from confusion to disbelief, then to a deep, heartbreaking sorrow. "You gave it up for me, for this city. I chose," you say, meeting her gaze, letting her see the truth of it in your eyes. "I chose you." She begins to cry, silent tears tracking paths through the dust on her cheeks. It is not the cry of someone who has been saved, but of someone who understands the terrible price of that salvation. She, who sought to build a new God, had instead unmade one. "It was too high a price," she weeps. "No," you say, squeezing her hand. "It was the only price that mattered." In the months that follow, you both heal. Her body mends with the slow, miraculous patience of living flesh. Your soul mends in a different way. You rediscover the world through mortal senses. The taste of ripe fruit is an explosion of flavor. The warmth of the sun on your skin is a benediction. The sound of her laughter is a symphony. The divine silence remains, but the world adapts. Without gods to command them, people turn to each other. They rebuild the damaged parts of the city, not with prayer, but with sweat and ingenuity. Faith is no longer a plea to the heavens, but a trust in their neighbors. Echo, humbled and changed by her brush with catastrophe, becomes a leader in this new movement. Her genius is no longer aimed at creating gods, but at improving mortal lives, systems of clean water, sources of gentle light, tools to make life easier in the overgrown city. You work with her. Your knowledge of the city's secret places, of its ancient magic and forgotten botany, is invaluable. You are no longer a guardian watching from above, but a part of the city's lifeblood, your hands dirty with the soil and grease of real work. Your love is no longer the impossible bridge between a timeless being and a fleeting mortal. It is a partnership of equals. It is quiet mornings and shared meals. It is the comfort of her head on your shoulder as you watch the twin moons rise over the silent spires of Eldoria. It is the simple, profound joy of knowing your time together is finite, and therefore infinitely precious. One evening, years later, you stand with her on the Guardian's Roost, the place where this story began. You are older now. There is silver in your hair and lines on your face that speak of laughter and worry. Your hand rests on the same stone balustrade. It is just a stone now. The deep, humming song is gone forever. Or perhaps you simply can no longer hear it. Echo leans against you, following your gaze out over the city. Lights twinkle in the lower districts, small and bright. The sounds of life, music, voices, the clang of a smith's hammer drift up on the evening breeze. Do you ever miss it? She asks softly. The power, the long view. You consider the question, truly consider it, for the first time in a long while. You think of the millennia of lonely watching, of the cold, perfect, and empty balance you once served. You think of the crushing weight of oaths and the terrible burden of eternity. Then you look down at the woman beside you, at the life you have built together, at the world you helped save not by being a god, but by choosing to be a man. You bring her hand to your lips and kiss her knuckles. No, you say, and the truth of the word settles into your bones, solid and real as the ancient stone beneath your feet. I don't miss a thing.